Welcome everyone to episode 84 of the Circle Back podcast, the show where three great friends get together and just talk about video games. I'm Dan LaMarca. As always, I'm joined by Dan Dufresnoy.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Doing well, Dan. Thank you for asking.
Thank you for responding.
And Shelby White.
How we doing, guys?
Doing quite well, Shelb. Thank you guys for joining me. It's always happy to hear your voices.
It's great to hear you guys' voices, and I just want to make it clear that don't worry, we already asked how we're doing. You know, when we sign on and when we see each other, we're just doing this for show. Well, hello.
We're doing this for you, people.
Dan, don't reveal Hollywood secrets here.
Listen, we already know how we're doing. Let's be honest. We've already talked for an hour.
We have been on here for a bit. So let's dig right into it then. I have been asking how we're doing, but as Dan just said, we already talked about that. So we'll skip on because we got a lot to cover on this episode. And I think the best way to open up is you haven't heard a Final Fantasy VII Remake spoiler cast yet because y'all are nearing the end but still playing. Is that right?
Getting close.
Where are you guys at?
Yeah, right. I think I'm right behind you. I'm at I believe at the end of chapter 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably at the end of 17. I don't have work tomorrow night, so me and my sister were planning on we're gonna get some snacks and we're gonna plow through. I think we looked it up. We only have one more chapter, so we're gonna plow through that.
Okay. We'll keep spoiler free here, and we'll save it for the spoiler cast. But as you guys have played more, I know you guys have both played quite a bit more since we last. I know Dan, what were you on chapter 5 last time?
Oh yeah, completely.
So what have you been thinking?
So this is the thing. I can't say. I'm happy to report. I've never been so wrong in my life. Like I harbored such resentment towards Final Fantasy VII. Not really. This makes it sound like I stay awake at night, with like a knife in my hand, going Final Fantasy VII. No, it's
Loud
not.
strife.
But my feelings towards the original game, have definitely been clear. But all I can say is this game, every issue I had with Final Fantasy VII, well, not every issue, but
I was going to say not
every issue, but maybe 70% of the issues that I had with the original game, they're not only are they reconciling, but they're making it so much better. And I absolutely game of the year so far. And I'm absolutely loving it. I'm really curious to see how the future installments go, because even the original game, the Midgar section was my favorite part of the game. The first 10 hours of the original game, I thought the Midgar section was fantastic. So I'm curious how they're going to deal when it gets even more convoluted.
Yeah. Yeah, can't wait to talk more about that specific concern of yours after you've beaten it and we can do a spoiler cast.
Oh God. All right, this make me
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. It's just something that I cannot discuss in detail right now, but I can't wait to talk about.
Right.
But yeah, you're enjoying it. Are there any specific things that jump out that you want to say that are non-spoilery, like maybe about gameplay, about good things you like, bad things you didn't like? Like, do you have any specifics? Or
you know what the interesting thing is? I thought I would, and we kind of touched on it last time, if I remember correctly. I actually like JRPGs, and I like the turn-based system. And at first I was like, oh man, like that's not here. But the more I think about it, it's like a new, an improved JRPG system where it's still methodical. It's still like a chess match. You can only use magic, at certain times. And honestly,
the ATB system of like you have to do a certain amount of damage or take a certain amount of damage in order to do any action, whether that's like use an item or use magic or use an ability. Like that system is so smart and well implemented that it just really makes that combat shine.
I agree completely on that.
all about this new JRPG system. Like I said, I thought I would miss it. I thought like, oh man, like it's not turn-based system that I'm used to, but I'm all about this new frontier of turn-based
Right.
games. Implement this system, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, and then I want to hear what Shelby thinks as well. But the funny thing is, I've said before, it's not usually the first game that does something that is considered like revolutionary. It's usually the first game that does it really well and is in a like popular thing, right? Like we talk about Gears of War being the first cover-based shooter when it's not, but it's the first one that was really popular and really did it well. Think about Ni no Kuni 2 and the similarities in the combat.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a lot of similarities to this combat. This one just does it so well and in such an interesting strategic layer with all these different abilities layered on top, especially, I don't know if you guys have the materia that allows you to learn moves from enemies. But I had like 30 moves with Cloud by the end of that game because I had so many, all the different moves that carry over from leveling up your specific weapons, and like it's just, I love the system, and I really want to dig into more of that when we do the spoiler cast of like how much that stuff really does such a good job at making this game super fun.
Right.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. What are your thoughts, Show?
I mean, I'm in complete agreement. I wish that I've gotten to finish the game by now, but I am enjoying every second with it. Right from the way it looks all the way down to like we're talking about the fact that this system of combat is just so fluid and so enjoyable to play because of how thought out it is. Like the fact that they thought of every little thing. The ATB system is, like you were just saying, you like that chess match of a battle when you go into combat, and you still have that at like 100% times the freaking speed, where you can also slow it down though. I mean, it's completely thought out. I love it so much, and I'm excited for the freaking spoiler cast because I can't wait to delve deep into this one.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about it is, I think a lot of games have one or the other where it's like, this plays really well, I really like it,
right,
but the story is not that great. Or this has an amazing story, but there's not much gameplay to speak of. And as you know, like me and Dan tend to lean towards games that are, hey, this story is amazing, gameplay, there really isn't much. But so for a game like this, and it's not like this is the only game that has this, I talk about The Witcher and like Metal Gear Solid 5 and some other stuff that I'm like, hey, I love the gameplay and I love the story, but like this game is so good on so many different levels,
right,
that I just and I just can't wait to talk about it because I think some of the stuff they do story-wise is just such like a bold, like clever thing that I would have never, ever expected this team to do. Like, not only to attempt, but to freaking nail it like they did. I'm blown away constantly thinking about this game because I'm just like, I can't believe they did this. Like, they could have done such an easy, like, basically just did hey, we're going to make a brand new engine and just rerun the exact cutscenes and everything.
And no, it's new. Yeah.
And it's completely, it's totally its own thing. And I love it. And I've never, like, I talk about Final Fantasy VII, the original, being like, okay, this is an overrated game. Everyone's obsessed with it. And it's because when the game came out, it hit at the right moment for video games as a whole and for the individuals, because if you're the right age when that game hits, this is like something you've never seen before. But really, you look at like Evangelion and other anime that have done this type of story way better. So it's not like this game was revolutionary in its story. It's just it hit the right audience at the right time. And so for them to like, understand that and kind of reflect some of that in the story of this new one is just so. It's a level of awareness that I do not attribute to that team at Square Enix. You know what I mean? Like it's just so fun to see them playing around with things, and we don't need to talk much more story wise. I could gush about how like when we do the spoiler cast, I'm not gonna have to look much up because there are so many memorable locations and moments and like all the story bits. Like I have in my head the beat by beat, like all right, and then you went here and met this person and did this. And I don't feel like I have that when I play a lot of games. Like usually I have to like look up, oh yeah, and then this happened, and then we did this. Like for this game, it's stuck in my head in a way that I think is a testament to the game's storytelling. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know if I'm off base with that. It just makes sense to me where I'm like, why is this one feeling like it's sticking in my brain more, you know?
Right.
I feel like
especially with a single playthrough. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I felt the same way, Dan. Because me and my sister, we were like, how come, like how come this story seems to make more sense in this game than if you ask me the plot of Final Fantasy VII, the original, I could maybe
it feels so convoluted, right?
I'd be like, I really don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
But with this one, I guess it just it gives it so much time to breathe, and it's just this time, and like it's really delving into each character, and like you said, like it's like those specific moments where now it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I got that, because it's taking that time, and like it's like embedded in your brain.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I touched on the weapon system. What you're doing is like you're collecting individual weapons for each character, and as you're like using them in combat, you basically have to do certain things. So it might be like, oh, stagger an opponent 5 times, and now you have that weapon's special ability unlocked no matter which weapon you use. So you're kind of like,
are you talking
going
about chat
through
things, or
no, for the weapons themselves? Like if you like all the different swords that Cloud has, right? So you have the Buster Sword. When you do a certain amount of things, okay, now you have that special ability that the Buster Sword has, which is Braver, right?
Right.
Now you can use Braver
with any
even
sword,
if you're not using the Buster Sword.
Right.
So you're kind of like, it's like a collecting the items, then using the new item, and then discarding it and using whatever sword you want, because now you have that special ability on all the rest of your weapons. And it's just such a smart idea to like have you try out different weapons. Like it forces you to try out different weapons if you want to unlock those skills. Mm-hmm. And especially when you're using certain other characters, like it's so helpful to have like numerous wards for Aerith or something, where it's like, hey, I'm going to unlock this because I want to be able to use a healing ward and an ATB ward, at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it's just the layers that they built, like the actual combat system and the way it's layered in is so smart. And it just not only does it feel good, it has the deeper layer. Like it's not just, hey, this game, I'm pressing square, I'm pressing triangle, and it feels good, like a Devil May Cry or something, let's say.
Yeah.
This is like, hey, it feels good, and it's scratching that like tactical itch underneath,
Right, and then not even just that, like you also add all the material. Like you have so much material by the point that we're at right now. Mm-hmm. I'm really, since picking it back up, I started messing around more with the elemental materia, like the chain links and stuff like that when you chain them together with stuff. So like you have to constantly change them up, and you're upgrading materia without actually like only by using it,
just by using it, just not by putting points into it or anything.
So I remember when I first started the game, I was like, why do I need so many of these fire ones? Like I have 3 or 4 controllable characters right now. Why do I need so many? And then like you realize, all the variations that you could really put together, mm-hmm. and how you might have to just swap them out freaking mid-battle if it's not mm-hmm. working, which is another reason why the assess material, I love that one.
Yeah,
like when you're assessing enemies.
Yep.
So
I was doing that right up until the very end of the game.
yeah, no, same. And then like you can go through that list and be like, oh, I don't remember, and be like, oh shit, yeah, this is what I got to do. It helps so much.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for now? And then, like I said, once we're all finished, we're gonna find time, sit down, do a spoiler cast. So that'll be separate separate to the next episode. So just keep an eye on the feed for that one.
Right.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I don't want to go too far into it. I want to save it
Yeah.
all. So, but yeah,
I feel like there's so much that there is to talk about. I think we'll have a nice spoiler cast that'll last a few hours.
Yeah, absolutely. It's plenty to dig into. Especially, I hope you guys are ready for the ending.
yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm excited. You know what I'm loving so far that I do want to comment on, that there was only one instance in which it didn't happen, but even every short cinematic or cutscene or anything like that, like not only do they have that cinematic ready to go with the weapon you have like on your back,
Yes.
but even the materia that you have in your sword or in
the slots that you have in.
Tifa's hands, like the fact that it's all, I mean, that's not new. I just love being able to
But
see
the
that.
fact that the graphics are such high fidelity and they're doing that is like shows the
incredible.
attention to detail.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
All
my
right.
last thought.
So we'll move on from Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have quite a few games to talk about. I'll start by saying I've been playing a little more XCOM's Chimera Squad. I really like it. I don't like it as much as a regular XCOM game. Now that I've played, 8-10 hours, whatever. I think it's doing some interesting things as far as the story and the structure of it compared to a regular XCOM game. The way it's more like a city map, it feels more like a game of Pandemic, the board game, where you're like managing each city's fear level. The old XCOM games were like that, but this one feels more like you're looking at one board and you're managing that rather than all these different countries. Like it's like a more isolated look at a smaller environment. And I like that stuff, but I think overall it still suffers from a lot of the XCOM issues of janky animations and some strange glitches here and there. That's like a big XCOM thing, and this game's not without that. But overall, I enjoy the game. It feels kind of like a breezy, because the combat encounters are like 10 minutes max. It feels like a much breezier experience. Whereas in XCOM, it's like, all right, I'm going to jump in. It's going to be like a 40-minute mission. I'm going to think very hard about every shot. In this one, it feels more like an Into the Breach type of thing. I know I said that last time, but playing it more, it really solidifies that of like, all right, there's an optimal thing. I'm going to move this person here. I'm going to move this person here. Clear out this whole room in one turn, and that's very unique for an XCOM game. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I'm enjoying it, but there are things about Enemy Unknown, Enemy Within, and XCOM 2 that I prefer to this style. So that's probably all I'll say about that until I've beaten it. Gears Tactics, I did beat.
Ooh, I hear a lot of good things about that game, man.
Nice.
So, all right. So this game, I think the bones, like the structure of this game, the tactics game they built, is so good, so rewarding. I love the different skills and the way that they combine with each other. I cannot emphasize enough how incredible it is that when you execute an enemy, your entire squad gets one more action that turn. So you're like chaining these kills together and executing an enemy in order to keep moving. It is so good and so rewarding. I love, love, love this game. The thing about it is they knew they were making a $60 game, and they decided that they needed to pad it out. That's the unfortunate thing with this game is my final hour count was like 25-ish hours. It should have been 15 to 20. Two reasons for that. Number one, as you're playing, there are these side mission things, and there's only 3 or 4 types of them. So it'll be like, oh, go here, rescue these 2 hostages, and then escape. And then it'll be like the next side mission type is there's this rolling wave of bombs behind you, so you constantly have to be moving forward. You can't like just camp out and overwatch and wait for the enemies to come to you. Then there's one that's like, all right, there's these 2 points. You have to control each point for a certain number of turns. It's like King of the Hill kind of thing. And I think that's it. I think there's 3. There might be a 4th that's like go to this base and clear out all the enemies. I think there is. So each of those individually are well designed and interesting. When you play them each 4 or 5 times throughout this campaign, it really feels padded. And there's no other way to say it because it is, in these kind of games, you really want each mission to feel unique. Like each combat encounter, the most interesting things in these games, and this game in particular, I mean, there are 3 main boss battles, and they're all fantastic and unique, and I love them. They needed to handcraft more of these missions rather than just do, okay, here's another, one where the bombs are behind you and it's a randomly generated map and go finish it. In the beginning, like Act 1, you have 1 group of side missions. So it's like, all right, here's 3 side missions, complete 2 out of 3, and then you move on. In Act 2, they give you like 2 groups of 3 or 4 side missions. In Act 3, there are like 4 different instances of these side missions, and you have to do 3 of them. And it just kept, when it popped up, I was like, no, we can't be doing this again, can we? And we did it again, and it was just way too repetitive in the end. And it really put a damper on the game for me. This is still one of my favorite games of the year. I think they did an amazing job with the formula, creating something that feels like a new entry into this specific XCOM style tactics genre. Like, they did an amazing job. I love the way the game plays. I love the classes. I like the enemies. Like, it's a really, really good game. If they decided to, instead of keep recycling the same side missions, if they decided to handcraft them and add a couple new enemy types, this would have been like, top 3 at least. Like, it's that good of a game. So
that really slogs it down that much, though.
It does, yeah. And it's still, for me, an excellent game that I'll be thinking of fondly for a long time. But more, it makes me excited for them to make a sequel and learn those lessons. Because I'm telling you, the structure of this game and the systems that they have built are so good and so rewarding, to the point of where I play XCOM and it feels like XCOM Chimera Squad. It feels like kind of by the numbers compared to this. Like, this feels like they really did something new and interesting that I'm loving. And like I said, it doesn't detract enough where, like, that final boss was super fun. It was a really, really good campaign. I love the game. It was just too many instances of, hey, play these 3 or 4 side missions, whatever. And it was just like, come on. Like, it was too much.
It's like in Skyrim where, 25 people lose their shield in the dungeon. You got to go back and get the shield.
Yeah. Exactly. Same idea of just padding it out. And it's such a shame, because if this was a $40 game that was 15 hours, like, this would be one of the best games of the year by far. Like, it's so good.
Oh.
And the thing I'll say is, The story is a Gears of War story. It's a fun action story with some nice, interesting twists and good set pieces. The acting is great. The graphics are really good in the cutscenes. Like, it feels like a true Gears of War game, which, for me is not exactly like my style of story, but they definitely do a good job here. But anyway, that's pretty much it on Gears Tactics of what I'm going to say. Still one of my favorite games of the year, absolutely. But it went from being like a contender, like at the top, to right now it's probably my 4th or 5th favorite game of the year.
Wow.
I will say, so I played 25 hours of this. I finished it. I definitely like it more than XCOM Chimera Squad. Still.
Wow.
That's saying something, man, because I know your history with XCOM.
Yeah, I love XCOM, all those games, and that's partially Chimera Squad not fully doing it for me, and it's partially Gears doing some really, really interesting new stuff. So yeah, I definitely recommend the game. I wish there was a way to skip some of those side missions, because it would feel like a complete, like, well-paced game if it just didn't have some of that side stuff. But that's Gears Tactics. Really enjoyed it overall. I have 3 other games here. Let's talk quickly. So it's funny. There's 3 of these 5 games I'm talking about today are on Game Pass. Gears Tactics, and then the next one, Moving Out.
I just downloaded it and I wanted to play it.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. And Moving Out, the other one is Streets of Rage 4, and I'll talk about that one next. Moving Out it's so funny because it's not the same developers of Overcooked, but wow, it really feels like Overcooked. like holy shit. It's the same publisher, which is actually even funnier. But Moving Out is a cooperative game where you are a moving company, and you go into people's houses and you have to get out all their furniture and put it into the truck. You're on a timer similar to Overcooked, where depending on how fast you do it, you'll get a gold, silver, or bronze medal, which will subsequently unlock new areas and stuff like that. The game itself is a funny physics-based, like, you're just breaking through people's windows by throwing couches out of it and, like, doing anything you can to just quickly move the furniture. And it is just a really, really fun co-op experience in the same way an Overcooked is. Like, it gives you that same feeling of, like, it's frantic, funny shit's happening, like, it's just really, really good. And I gotta say, the music is really fun. The writing is really charming and funny, where, like, the boss is like terrible towards you as the workers, but you're like, oh, the boss is so enthusiastic about moving. This is fantastic. Like, it's really, really silly and tongue-in-cheek. I like it a lot. Moving Out is a really, really fun co-op game.
Yeah,
colorful. I like the way all the different characters look. Like, it's really good.
I gotta check this out now that since I have Dan's Xbox still sitting in my basement. Gotta check this out.
Yeah, you should play it. You should try it out with your sister. I think you guys would like it.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, it's it's one of those. It's like a fun co-op experience. It's not gonna, like, blow your mind or anything, but it's good fun. Jump in for an hour at a time and just have a blast.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so that's Moving Out. One of the funniest ones is you go to, because they're all themed. There's, like, a haunted house where there's these ghosts coming around bothering you. So one of them that I love is there's this guy that's like he's like a musician, like he's like a rock musician. You're moving his stuff, and if you turn on his speakers, it, like, the way it's, like, so loud that the blast from the speakers will, like, help move some of the furniture out of the way, so you can, like, use that to your advantage. A lot of clever stuff. like leaving a box on a switch to leave the garage door open to help you get out easier. Like it's a really good, well-designed game, and I really like it.
Nice.
All right, Streets of Rage 4. So this game came out. It's been long in development. I remember a couple of years ago when they announced it, a lot of the fans were upset that the original Streets of Rage, composer wasn't on it. It was new people. So what they did was they ended up getting some contributions from the original composer to do a couple of the boss battles. I'll talk about what I like about the game. It is beautiful, like really, really good. I love the animation. The art style is really sharp, nice looking, like 3D animated sprites. The problem is it's a beat 'em up, and I don't think beat 'em ups are my style of game. Like no matter what, like everyone likes these games as a kid, right? Like it's just fun. I'm thinking of the Ninja Turtles games and the X-Men games and the Simpsons arcade game. Like it's one of those, but those games aren't like they just don't do it for me. But like they're not like, I don't know. There's something missing there where like even the best ones, and this one, you know, is getting very good reviews. People love this game. It's just not doing anything for me. It's just not. There's not a lot of depth. You know what I mean? Like you're just kind of. It's a beat 'em up. I don't know. I don't want to say like, hey, that's that's just an inherently bad style of game. It's just something that does not click with me. I'm sure other people don't like RPGs or, you know, single player story games, whatever. This type of game just isn't really for me, I think. Also, a lot of people are talking about how good the soundtrack is. I think it's kind of whack. I'm not a huge fan. I'm like I'm listening to some of these tracks and like there's good stuff here and there, but some of them feel like I don't know, like bad electronic music, like not like good electronic music. Like there's a couple of tracks that are like, oh, this could have been in Hotline Miami, and I like that. And then there's a few that I'm just like, I don't know. So I played 7 stages. I think there were 12 or something. And the interesting thing that kind of makes it a little bit different than a normal beat 'em up is that it's almost like fighting game adjacent. Like your moves, like you have specific moves and you can juggle enemies in the air and stuff like that. But for me, at the end of the day, it's a beat 'em up, and it's not engaging enough to warrant me like playing any more of it.
That sucks.
That's about all I have to say about that. I mean,
so that's it. Goodbye. It's over.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I could imagine if somebody is like, I like this genre,
right? Then
they'll probably love this game. I mean, I think this, like I said, it looks great. It's, you know, I feel like it's nailing everything that fans would want, except maybe the music. But that's also very, you know, everyone's opinion's different about music. Right. So some people are gonna love it. But yeah, Streets of Rage 4, I'm glad I gave it a try, and it might come up in like, you know, best looking, or, you know, if we listen to the soundtrack and we like it, we might talk about that at Game of the Year time. But, you know, unless you guys are into beat 'em ups, I can't say I recommend this one.
Oof. All right, well, duly noted.
Yeah, but it is on Game Pass, so feel free to give it a try. Maybe it's just me.
You're not losing out on anything.
Yeah. Last game I want to talk about is Horizon's Gate. I want you guys to do me a favor. Look up a trailer for Horizon's Gate while I start talking about it.
All right,
this
ready?
game
Go.
is this game really is, the best way I could describe it is what if you married Final Fantasy Tactics and a regular Final Fantasy game like Final Fantasy VI.
Oh my gosh, look at this thing.
Like, what if it was Final Fantasy VI, but the combat was like Fire Emblem? Like, what if?
Dan,
How
tell
would you
us.
feel about
Tell
that?
us, Dan. What if?
What ends up happening here, and I'll dig into why I love this game, is one of the best games of the year by far. I beat it. Since the last episode, it was about 25 hours for me. I know a lot of people, based on Steam reviews, stuff like that, people have played a lot longer before beating the game. It's kind of open-ended in like a Chrono Trigger-y sort of way. But the thing about, so basically the thing that makes this game special is its job system. So it has basically like a class system where everyone starts out as like a sailor, I think. And then once you get a certain number of experience in that sailor class, you unlock 3 different skill trees, basically. The middle one starts as a scout. The left one starts as a warrior. And the right one starts as like an enchanter, I think it's called. So you got your magic on the right, you got your melee on the left, and the scout in the middle is kind of, you can go as like a rogue or an archer. And what ends up happening is the way that you unlock new classes is by using the classes attached to them. So like, think of a 3x5 grid or something, right? The middle top one will have like little tendrils that attach out to like its attached classes. So like, okay, if I want to get down the magic skill tree, I need to gain experience as the enchanter, and then I'll unlock either on the left sage or on the right sorcerer. Now, do you want to be a healer or do you want to be a sorcerer? So if you go sorcerer, you put in enough experience into that, then it goes down 1 class, and now there's like another, it'll be like a mage or something. They'll call it as a more powerful, aggressive magic user. Where it gets really interesting is some of these classes require multiple like skills from other trees. So it'll be like, okay, you need to get all the way down the melee skill tree, and you have to have like this 3rd level magic ability, whatever, like unlock that class. So you're like constantly in battle. And the way that it works is each class has 5 unique abilities. So what you're doing is you're balancing between, okay, do I want to enter this fight with a new class so that I can keep unlocking, but I don't have any abilities unlocked yet because I never used this class before? Or do I want to go in with the class that I already have my 5 abilities unlocked for so that I can win the battle, but you can't level it up unless your main class is unless your main class is the one that you have equipped. So at any time you can have 2 classes equipped, but only your main class will gain experience. The secondary class, you have all the abilities from that class, but you don't unlock any experience as you fight. So what you're doing is you're like balancing, all right, where do I want this character to go? Where do I want them to be? Because these bottom classes, like when I got to the end of the game, like one of my guys was a bat handler, so I could summon in a bat that is like a summon that acts on his own, but will like go and attack enemies or like do certain things. Yeah, exactly. My other guy is an Ignis Knight, so he's like a strong melee user, but he also can cast like certain fire spells. And these spells, like this whole system is so good and richly built that like these abilities they feel unique and fun to this game. Like one of the Ignis Knight's abilities is called Phoenix, and it's a ranged ability. It revives a downed ally and hits for fire on the 4 adjacent tiles to that downed ally. Yeah. So like that's just like a interesting like specific use case that's one of this class's 5 abilities. Another one is like pyre or something, where you basically explode in like a burst of flames, big AoE flame around you, but it also hurts you for fire damage. So like you just walk up and just explode in fire. You can walk into a group of enemies. And then you have your basic ones that are like, hey, here's a wave, 3 tiles straight ahead, fire damage. And then where it gets really cool is he has something that's basically a sword attack, but if the enemy or you are on fire, you extinguish that flame and do an extra 75% damage. So like you want things to be on fire, and then you walk in and do this like devastating blow on an enemy, And that's just one class out of like 40. So like the depth here is incredible, and it's just so well designed, this whole system, and the way everything works with each other. Like my sage, my like healer, ended up being like this really powerful. Not only does he heal, but he applies like this shield that blocks all ranged attacks for 100 seconds or whatever. So he was like, casting different shields on people. He can nullify, so he like casts nullify, which means the next damage instance that character takes will be 0, like no matter what it is. It could be like the strongest attack in the game. So it's very, very deep system. And then you have the actual lore and writing of this game, which are superb. It's mostly around like the edges of the game. Like the main narrative is interesting and good, but it's not where the game really shines. It's more so if you press L or hit the little examine icon, you can look at anything in the world. So you walk up to a market, you can look at each item that they have. So it's like, oh, here's a piece of gold, here's a gem, here's this, and it adds it to your journal. Like, oh, you learned what this was. Now you can go to a certain person called a researcher and sell all your discoveries to them. So if you find like a rare enemy out in the wild, or like a rare piece of architecture or something, it might be like a 5-star rating for the researcher, and you can just go to him and be like, dude, check out what I found. And he like writes it in his book, and he's like, damn, that's awesome. Here's some gold for your discovery. Like, it's such an interesting idea. And each one of those things that you're looking at and discovering has like a piece of lore written for it. So it might be something.
I love stuff like that.
It's so rich, and it really, really makes the world, like the world building in those pieces is so good. Like, it's so good. I love what they did with this world. The way that the structure of the game works, aside from, I told you about the battle system, I told you about researching, which is like my favorite thing, is there's a world map with a bunch of different ports, right? It's like there's like oceans, land, and you're kind of like sailing the ship from port to port. And each one of those ports has like a cafe where you can sit and eat to get your crew's morale up. Each one has like a shop where you can buy food for your ship, because there's like it's basically like a timer, so you can't just be out on the water the whole time. It's like you consume a certain amount of food every in-game day. But basically what you're doing is you're sailing from port to port, doing different missions, defeating enemies, meeting new people. You can hire new people at certain places to, join your crew. So like the overall structure of the game is like you out exploring this, continent, whatever, sailing around on this like beautiful 2D with it almost looks like Mode 7 when you go like north on the water. It's like the ocean like curls over, like it's like a fake 3D looking thing that looks like the game looks like it could have actually been on the Super Nintendo.
Just looking at pictures of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this the long haul Super Nintendo game?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'm telling you, I probably it's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm probably not doing a great job of talking about it, but this game is special, and it completely grabbed my attention for its entirety. When I started this game to the finish of the game, like, I did not want to play anything else. It was just like so many little things. Like, I came across this place called, do you know when Dan in Bloodborne, the place like Hippogene Jail or something, but jail is Gaol, right? Like the old spelling of jail.
Yeah.
There was a place called Precipice Jail that I came across. So I was like, and literally I'm just sailing, and as you sail near the shore, like, things will pop up. It might say, oh, you discovered a new port, you discovered a new location, here's a grove, which is like a 2-screen area that usually has one fight and then one like treasure, right? So this place wasn't a grove and it wasn't a port, it was just like a location. I walked in, and it was this really eerie, dark place where like the tiles of the floor, like you could see through the middle, like down 3 layers, and like you could see below you, there's like darkness. So you're traveling through, there's no enemies or anything. You're taking these ropes down to get to the next level. And at the bottom, there was this really creepy statue. It's like, and you examine it, and it says like Watcher statue, and it said, nothing, this is like nothing you've ever seen or heard before, or something like that. And then in the corner of the screen, I saw like this white eye in the darkness, and I walked over, and it was this hard enemy. It had like 90 hit points, and my whole crew has like 30 each, but there are 5 of us. And it closes its eye, and when it reopens its eye, there are like 10 enemies around us, all with like 30 hit points. So it's this really hard fight of like me trying to figure out, do I have to kill all these guys? Should I just focus on the guy with the eye? Like, what should I be doing? So I ended up beating it, and it is just like full of unique enemies and unique encounters like that make this game like surprising around every corner. Like every single place, like there are a lot of places that are similar where it's like, okay, here's a grove, there's one screen of enemies, and then there's one screen of treasures. But the enemies on the first screen are probably brand new enemies you've never seen before. I came across one that was just a giant spider that I've never seen anything look like that. It took up almost the whole screen. And I'm like, Jesus, like, and I fought it and I beat it, and it was like a really fun tactical battle. And then I moved on. And then I walked into this cave, and there are these new enemies called Heedles, which as you hit them, or especially if you do fire damage towards them, they heat up. And if they like glow different colors. And if they're glowing like bright red, that means if they die while they're bright red, they cause a huge explosion and probably kill half your team.
Ow.
So what I ended up doing, because, all right, real quick, something I didn't mention, the game has a Divinity-style elemental combination system. So, like, if you throw a water spell at somebody, they are now wet for 100 seconds. And while something is wet, if you cast a lightning spell, it does 1.5 times damage, right? So you're kind of combining different things like that. And there's a lot of different interactions there. Like if someone's frozen, you throw a fire spell at them, they're unfrozen, ahead of time. And everything works at the top. At the top of your screen, each character that's in the fight is their logo, like their little symbol is up there, and they have a certain number of seconds. It's like a turn order. But you can like stun enemies and set them back in the turn order a certain number of seconds. So you're constantly like using different spells and abilities to like change the order of these characters' turns. So these Heedles, I ended up having to like cool them down with water before killing them because I didn't want this big explosion to go off. So the final battle of that cave, this thing drops out of the sky. It's called King Heedle. It's like this big fat Heedle with a big crown on his head. And it was this really interesting fight of like, he had a lot of fire spells that were like heating up the other Heedles to try to make them explode. So I'm like constantly like trying to like, keep the temperature down on all these Heedles while also trying to, kill them as well. Just stuff like that. There are probably 10 different amazing, unique encounters like this, and it just blew me away. This game completely blew me away and came out of nowhere. The thing that really got me was the Breath of the Wild moment of I went to this island where there wasn't much on, but there were these 3 crystals on the ground. I looked at one of the crystals and it said, lightning crystal. When struck by lightning, it may be used to open a device, right? Only one of my characters has a lightning ability. And when you move, a certain number of seconds pass by, right, on the turn order. So I would strike one area with lightning, and then I would go to do another, but when I move, the lightning effect would go off of that crystal, and I was like, well, how the hell am I going to do this? So I ended up thinking about it for a while, threw a bunch of water down, which lasts longer, and then struck it with lightning, and it hit them all at once, and it opened the secret door that had some treasure underneath it. And it's like, but this game is that in spades. Like, it has it in every way you could think of. It has it like in ways that are surprising constantly. Like, I came across this enemy that had like 450 hit points. It's like, how am I going to ever beat this? And it did a ridiculous amount of damage. And I ended up beating him before the end of the game because I had learned so much about the systems and how they work and how I can do multiple damage instances on one large enemy. And like, it is so much to talk about that I'm just rambling at this point. But it's a game that I fell in love with immediately and is easily one of the best games of the year. Like, easily. It's amazing.
You got me hooked because I think
I know.
need to play this.
It's only on PC, and it's probably ever only going to be on PC unless it like gains sudden popularity, because this developer has 2 previous games. I'm going to look up the name of the developer real quick, but they have 2 previous games that are only on PC as well. Yeah, the developer is named Rad Codex. It's mostly one person, but in the credits there were a couple other family members. Like it was the same last name. Somebody was like the lore master, and it was like the same last name. So this person's family member like helped on the game by writing all the lore, whatever. But the 2 previous games are just tactics games. They're not like open world RPGs, but they are also very well liked in the small circle of like tactics games. The first one's called Voidspire Tactics, and then Alvora Tactics. So I think they've been like honing this, because I'm telling you, the tactics part of this game is as good as any Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, anything. Like, it is. In my opinion, I like it more because of the Divinity style, like elemental combinations and stuff. But it is that good of a tactics experience, aside from all the other interesting stuff that I'm talking about. So, like, yeah, and these 2 games, I mean, Voidspire Tactics came out in 2015, Alvora Tactics came out in 2017. They're only on PC as far as I know. So I'm pretty sure this one won't come to consoles unless it has like a random, huge spike in popularity, which I would love, but is wishful thinking, I believe.
On Steam, Dan, not Epic.
It's on Steam. Yeah, it's on Steam, and I could imagine. I mean, I'm gonna check what they have written for the like recommended specs. I would imagine this would play on anything. It's a Super Nintendo looking game, Let me check recommended specs here.
Honestly, I mean, I'm looking for something. Once I finish Final Fantasy VII, I don't know what I'm going to do, so maybe I'll.
Yeah, yeah. It says minimum specs: Windows 7, 4 gigs of RAM, which is like, totally normal.
All right.
Yeah, I think you should be fine playing this on any laptop or anything. I really highly, highly recommend it. I think this game is incredible. And I'll say there are things that I definitely like. there's some naval combat that's similar to the tactics thing, but with like no depth to it that I think they could have left out. The criticism that I have is kind of an unfair criticism because they're going for something so much larger than your average indie game that they run into the problem of, hey, we didn't have 100 people working on this that could look at these systems and say, does this need to be in there? Like, trim some of the fat, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of unfair for me to say, hey, if this developer brought this to Nintendo to make a new game that's exactly this, but with their resources, like, this could be like one of the best games ever made. That's a little unfair, you know? But I truly was completely and utterly blown away by this game. Again, it's called Horizon's Gate. I believe it's $20 on Steam. I really, seriously, it's such a rewarding game on multiple levels that it's super duper fun.
Not bad, man. Honestly, that might be my next go-to once.
I really
feel like I feel like it's everything that I like.
Yeah, and that's a game. I mean, I'll talk to you when you get into it, but I would love to just like play along, like, you know, watch you play it for the first hour, just to like help you with the little like weird things with the game, just so you can get your footing, so that you can, you know, because I mean it's a little obtuse sometimes, but man, that tactics gameplay mixed with all these surprises, it's so good.
Awesome, man. Cool.
Yeah. Horizon's Gate.
Yeah, that one's sounding pretty good so far.
It's so good. It's so good. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling on about that game. So let's move on to some news. First thing I have here is a really fun and interesting one. Animal Crossing New Horizons launch sales surpass any Mario or Zelda in US.
Damn.
Right now, so the game's been out for a month and a half. It's sold 12 million copies.
Now you have to. I mean, the game's fantastic. We can all attest to that. But you got to assume that this quarantine is definitely playing at least some factor in that.
Of course, yes. But it is pretty insane when you look at the numbers. For like, I'm looking at sales data, right?
Yeah. Well, to put that in the same freaking sentence as a Mario and Zelda and be talking about it as far as sales is just crazy to even think about.
Well, listen to this. So these are lifetime sales, like since the game came out.
Wait a second.
Super Smash.
Animal Crossing has sold more than Mario and Zelda lifetime?
No. Listen. So what I'm saying is, so as of the amount of time it's been out, it's outpaced them. But even right now, so lifetime sales of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Switch, 17.4. Mario Odyssey is right around there, and so is Pokemon Sword and Shield. So the fact that Animal Crossing New Horizons is at 12.4 in 6 weeks, and these games lifetime are at 17 is like insane.
Absolutely insane.
Especially considering Animal Crossing sales in general are never that huge. Like the 3DS one was big, but not even close to this. So this game really has hit on a level that no other Animal Crossing game has. And I think that's pretty cool.
That's something to say.
Because, these the numbers I'm looking at as of March, this is on Nintendo's website for top-selling title sales units. As of March 31st, like the 11.77 million units as of March 31st, and the game came out, March 20th?
Yeah.
It's insane. So I just wanted to mention that as like a fun, crazy thing that's going on. Next news piece I have is, so they did an Inside Xbox event that they're calling. I think they're calling it Xbox 2020 with a slash between the 20s. They're going to do an event every month leading up to the launch of the Xbox Series X. This first one, they said at the beginning of the even before the show went off, they said this is going to be the first look at gameplay on the Xbox Series X. And then they proceeded to show a bunch of trailers and zero gameplay. And I don't understand why we're doing this again, because every single console launch, these companies love to muddy the waters on like terminology of what is gameplay, what is in-engine, what is exclusive, what is like they love confusing the consumers by using strange language. And again, even Ubisoft is calling that trailer for Assassin's Creed Valhalla the first gameplay trailer, and there was no gameplay. And it is so frustrating that we have to do this again, because this happens every time there's a new cycle of consoles, and it's like
they're trying to get eyes on it, and it's like, dude, we're gonna watch it anyway. Call it what it is.
And don't call it a gameplay reveal. Like, there's no gameplay. So I don't understand it, but nonetheless, the event itself, they said right away, they said this is going to be, this showcase is for third-party games, and we're just going to show off a quote-unquote gameplay for the Xbox Series X. So they showed off some new third-party games. Some looked like okay. For the most part, it was like mostly the same like theming. It was all like dark horror. There's a game called Scorn, which looked like if H.R. Geiger was also like very horny. There was like a statue dick like of Alien, and it was really weird. There was a couple others. There was one that's called The Medium. It's from Bloober Team. It's the team that did Observer and Layers of Fear. So there were a couple of things. That one game, Bright Memory, which is like the first person, like you have a samurai sword and you're like, it's like these beautiful graphics. There's actually a demo called Bright Memory Episode 1, I think, or something. And there's a demo of that out on PC that they said if you buy it when the full game is released, you'll have access to it. But yeah, I mean, it was mostly underwhelming. They showed a couple of interesting looking games, and then they said, by the way, we're doing one of these in July where we're going to show off our first party games on Xbox Series X. So that's when we'll see Halo and Hellblade and whatever else they have lined up. So yeah, that was the first one. Not their best showing. Actually, probably like the first misstep that Microsoft has made in a long time. But nonetheless, I'm excited for new consoles. So they're sticking to the fact that they're saying these consoles are coming out this year, no matter what. The pandemic is not impacting them in that way, they say.
Yeah,
so,
that's what they're all saying, right? They're all still on track.
Yeah, so we shall see. Next on the list, I have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remastered.
Let's freaking go.
It was unveiled on May 12th, and they said it's going to be out September 4th on Xbox One, PS4, and Epic Game Store. It's going to be packaged as one game with 1 and 2. Looks fantastic. They said the majority of the soundtrack is intact, which is
I mean, they even used it for the trailer, which was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely crucial for a Tony Hawk game to keep that soundtrack. So it's really cool. A nice surprise, because those games are so much fun, and I'm excited that that's coming out later this year.
It's exciting.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Just this morning, we're recording this on the 13th. which is also why we're not going to be talking about the May 14th State of Play from Sony based on Ghost of Tsushima. But this morning on the 13th, they put out a Unreal Engine 5 gameplay demo that they said is running on a PS5. It's a demo made by Epic as a showcase for what gameplay on the PS5 with Unreal Engine 5 can look like. And I will say it is a demo, but goddamn, it looks really good.
Dude, I mean, in the beginning of it, they talked about like location, environmental, and like lighting and stuff on that. And right from the first freaking scene, it's incredible looking.
Yeah, and they're showing off. I mean, the number one thing that they're showing with this demo is, hey, look at how smooth it's running, even though you're going super far distances. There's no load times. There's no pop in for textures. Like, you know, that's the big push for this next console cycle is we don't need to load things in piece by piece because you can load in an entire game world, you know, because of the power. So yeah, it looks really interesting. I mean, I'm not the person for these kind of demos. Like, it's like a cool thing to look at, but I'm not gonna like dig through piece by piece and see you know, what everything they're talking about. And you know, that's like a, you know, something someone a little more savvy with tech can dig into. But you know, to the naked eye, I think it looks very, very good, and it's at least an exciting demo of what can be possible for next console generation.
All right. Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, that is all I have for the news. So let's dig in to our final segment here, our top 5, bottom 5 of the week. I guess we do bi-weekly, so of the show. So this one's fun. We made a bit of a list here. We are looking for the top 5 video game locales to live in and the bottom 5 video game locales to live in. So what's the place you'd most want to live in, and what's the place you'd least want to live in? So let's hear our nominees for top 5 places to live in video games. We got Timberhearth from Outer Wilds. We got Delfino Island, Delfino Plaza from Super Mario Sunshine. We have Kakariko Village. Take your pick on which game you want the Kakariko Village from. We have Hawk Peak from A Short Hike. We have Wellspring Glades from Ori and the Will of the Wisps. We have the SSV Normandy from Mass Effect. We have the Kanto region from Pokemon. And from Animal Crossing, your island, the Animal Crossing New Horizons island.
What are your guys' islands' names?
Mine is Kestrel.
Kestrel, nice.
Mine's Cute Town.
What is it?
Town.
Newtown?
Cute.
Oh,
Cute
Town?
It's an inside reference.
Like a small angle.
Cute, as in like dogs are cute. We pretty much it's an inside joke. My dog, we say he's Cute Town, so we have a flag of a dog there. Make my character look like a dog.
It was so funny when Dan came to my island for the first time, and his name is Max, and that's his dog's name. And so I go, I'm looking at him, and Dan goes, "I'm supposed to be my dog, by the way."
I'm blushing, guys. I'm a little red over here.
He's like dressed and he's set up to look like his dog. I thought
the thing is, me and my sister, we play games together, so it's just easier. He's like the common denominator. It's easy to just like instead of it just being me or her, we always go with Max.
I'm with you.
That's great.
That's so funny. But Shelby, what was your town's name?
Mine is Haven. I realized it afterwards, but I was like, oh, Safe Haven. This is awesome.
Mhm.
Naming it Haven, which is also the
Yeah.
fucking city in Jack, which is one of my favorite games, but I
Yep.
didn't realize that until afterwards. Or I
That's
didn't
so
put two
funny.
and two together.
It's a good name for a town.
Yeah.
So those are our nominees for top 5. Let's hear the nominees for bottom 5, and then we'll start digging through. Bottom 5, we got Midgar. We got Yarnum from Bloodborne. We got the USG Ishimura from Dead Space. We have Hell from Doom. Rapture from Bioshock. Dracula's Castle, Castlevania. The Oldest House from Control. Arkham Asylum, obviously. City of Tears from Hollow Knight. Aperture Science Labs from Portal and Portal 2. Raccoon City from the Resident Evil games. Silent Hill, obviously from Silent Hill. And Lavender Town from Pokemon. Pretty good list of terrible places to live.
It's easier to come up with the terrible places than it was.
Yeah. You know, that was funny. We were like, is this it for the top 5? We were running out. Bottom 5, it was easy. It's a ton of terrible places. And I've noticed that since we've been in the pandemic, my God, every video game is about something terrible happening in the world, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Every game.
Can't be a hero unless the world sucks.
Yeah. It just cracks me up. I'm like, every game I'm playing, I'm like, well, Resident Evil 3, well.
Well, in the beginning of Resident Evil 3, they're like, oh, this huge pandemic.
It's a news thing. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's like, Jesus. All right, so let's whittle down our top 5. And again, for the top 5, bottom 5s, we do not rank them. We just make a top 5. So we have Timberhearth, Delfino Island, Kakariko Village, Hawk Peak, Wellspring Glades, the Normandy, Kanto, and your New Horizons Island. So that is 9, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4,
8.
5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Got to cut 3 of these. What are you guys thinking?
Talk to me about the Wellspring Glades. That's the only one I'm unfamiliar with.
Oh, Wellspring Glades. It's basically
Sell me.
The world. Yeah, I'll sell you some property. The world in Ori and the Will of the Wisps is pretty rough, and you are basically everyone you find out in the wilderness. You're sending them back to this kind of safe haven kind of place. And you're upgrading it as you're going. So you're like building these little huts for these creatures to live in. It's just like a nice it's like a little commune, right? Like everyone helps each other out, and
yeah, you'd make leaves. You know,
the base of the base of the glades is this giant hollowed out tree that has like a little fire pit in it. It's just so nice, warm and cozy.
Love it.
Yeah, I would
Sold.
totally live there. All
right, cool.
I put Kanto region on here just because I think how cool would it be to just live in a normal town, but also there's Pokemon that you can capture and battle and do all that.
Listen, that's what we grew up on. That's
I know. But it's funny because it's like it's not that there's anything special about that region that's like, oh, I gotta live there.
Yeah, right.
It's
What was
just
the newest
like-
one? The Galar region?
Yeah, Galar.
Yeah. Can't go
But
wrong.
yeah, I mean, for me, looking at these, I think I like the idea of the Kanto region for that. But like, if we're talking about, hey, where do you want to live?
Yeah.
I don't think that thing.
you just want Pokemon.
I just want Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it. I'll
Who
take
doesn't?
any of those places if Pokemon were there.
Exactly.
Listen, let's be honest. If you like come across a Charizard or something, man, like we could again, we're human beings. We'll die. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, but if I'm walking through Kakariko Village and there's a Squirtle on the ground, I think I'll be all right.
Oh man, that'd be so cool.
Well, actually, I guess Bulbasaur would be there, right? That would make more sense.
Yeah,
All right,
Probably,
so we nix in Kanto.
I think we should cut Kanto.
All right, Kanto. It's been
unless
real. It's
anyone
been fun,
has
but it
anything
hasn't
to
been
say.
real fun, bud. Bye.
let's pick up the Normandy. Normandy,
Yeah.
nice ship, awesome people. Let's not forget, and I don't know if this is spoilers, You know, the game came out almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
It gets blown up to pieces in the second game.
It
You're in
does. It
space and
definitely
people
does.
are tracking you down.
Yeah, it's a pretty
I
hostile environment.
wouldn't feel safe on the Normandy. I mean, it's cool
It's a
character,
very cool ship.
but I don't know. I feel
I-
like flying around in space may not be the safest of.
I think I'm with you on this, but I really like the Normandy a lot.
Oh yeah, coolest ship in video games. I'll put my money on that.
I would probably agree there.
Space, bud. Space.
Space. All right, we got to cut one more here. We got Timberhearth, Delfino Island, Kakariko Village, Hawk Peak, Wellspring Glades, and your New Horizons Island.
I really like Kakariko Village. I think we should keep it because think about it. You live in Kakariko Village and you live forever. You don't age. You just
It's true.
You just stay a kid for all time. I think that's
And
pretty.
think about all the beautiful music that's just playing through the town as you're living there.
and
I
just
mean,
make people.
I love all these places here. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, I know.
I love all of them. If I had to pick one, I would say Hawk Peak is the
Yeah.
least one, only because I feel like I could get the same views in like British Columbia. Like Hawk Peak kind of feels like a real place I could go to right
yeah,
now.
absolutely. The reason Hawk Peak is a great place is because of the people.
Yeah.
Like it's another one of those where it's like,
Again, I go to
Hey, this
Canada
is
and
a
you
nice-
got people who are nice.
I can't disagree there. I'm with you though because, I mean, Timberhearth is just fantastic.
Yeah, that was the other one I was looking at, but I'm like Timberhearth again. I'm going to space.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about that space program they have.
Yeah,
It's so safe.
100%. Listen, they may look like they're Neanderthals, but they got better. They got space down pat.
They got it. They're good.
Yeah. Did we put Dark Bramble on our worst places to live list?
Oh, that's good. We're adding Dark Bramble.
All right, Dark Bramble's going on there. But all right. So do we have our top 5 though?
I think so.
It was
We'll
really
cut Hawk
quick.
Peak. Well, it was quick because we know the bottom 5 is really where it's at.
Yeah.
So our top 5 is Timberhearth, Delfino Island, Kakariko Village, Wellspring Glades, and your New Horizons Island. So 3 out of the 5 are Nintendo properties, which I think makes sense.
They just popped
Makes
out.
sense to me. Yeah, we should have put Luigi's Mansion Hotel on the worst place to live.
Too late?
That's true, but I mean, it's not going to hang. Bottom 5, let's dig into it. We got Midgar, Yharnam, the Ishimura, Hell, Rapture, Dracula's Castle, The Oldest House, Arkham Asylum, City of Tears, Aperture Science Lab, Raccoon City, Silent Hill, Lavender Town, and Dark Bramble.
A question. In Arkham Asylum, are we visiting Arkham Asylum as Batman or as us?
You're living in Arkham Asylum. Think about that.
You, bud.
You're in there. Living.
Yeah.
I don't
Pretty
want
bad
to.
place to live.
3 meals a day,
I don't
bud.
want to think about it.
3 meals a day though.
It's true.
Shower.
That's more than you can. That's more than you can get in Yharnam. I'll tell you that.
Honestly, I think Yarn, like when Dan said Yarnum, I was thinking Yarn, like that is just like the worst. There's nothing. Oh.
A lot of exciting discoveries, though. Jumping into that Moonside Lake.
Again, though, dude, you know, like we're not hunters. Like the first second somebody came at me with an axe, I'd be dead. You know what I mean? Like there's no way. There's no way.
Dodge,
there's a lot of-
dive, duck, and dodge, Dan.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad places on this list.
I wouldn't have time to get good. I would be dead by the time I calculated it.
Oh, that's funny.
I think compared to a lot of this stuff, I think Midgar sucks for a lot of reasons, but I think at least
I don't think it's as
kind
bad.
of a city. Yeah. Like it can't be as bad as some of these literal hellscapes.
Well, especially when one of them is literally hell.
It's literally hell. But yeah, Midgar, I mean, definitely sucks. It's corrupt. They're mining the planet of its blood. But
Yeah.
it's definitely not. I don't think it's bottom 5 with these.
All right.
What else? Anything jump out to you guys?
So we're seeing which one is least sucky, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
They all suck. Which one sucks the least?
Correct. And Rapture, by the way, we're talking about post the fall of Rapture.
Yes.
That's actually pretty bad too. But it's also beautiful in a weird way.
Yeah. There are also
Think of it,
crazy
citizens,
people
Dan.
with sickles coming after you.
True.
What
And the Big Daddies are not your friends. Imagine a Big Daddy in real life. That'd be terrifying.
Again, I'd be dead. I wouldn't have time to think about it.
Oh man, this is actually really hard because this is a really good list.
It is a good list, though.
I would say Lavender Town just
That's
because
the top that was on. I was
like
thinking
Lavender Town is like spooky, but again,
It's not
like
horrible.
people are there, you know.
There's just ghosts in the library every now and then.
Right. You can
Yeah,
live with that.
just don't go to the library. You're good to go.
Exactly.
I agree. Let's nix Lavender Town.
All right. Lavender Town is cut. We still have to cut like 5 or 6. I'll take out City of Tears here, just because a lot of these places are like very iconically like terrible places. I think City of Tears is a little more obscure. Definitely a sad, depressing place to live from Hollow Knight. But
There's also a beauty to it, though. There's a little bit of a beauty to it.
it's definitely beauty, but it rains all the time. Your roof is full of spikes. There's creatures roaming about. It's not a great place. All right, where do we go from here?
What would you say? Would you rather live in Raccoon City or Silent Hill? Is it Silent Hill or is it Silent? Is the town called Hill or is it Hills?
I would rather live in Silent Hill.
Really?
Definitely. Yeah.
This is my reason.
would.
Because Silent Hill is a manifestation of your own mind. So, like, if your mind is, like, not, like, really... Like, if you're going to murder anybody, like, you'll be fine in Silent Hill. You know what I mean?
This is true. I think the problem with Raccoon City is it is actively epidemic of zombie outbreak, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't really like you can't really like do anything at all.
Yeah.
Like
Can't
what
really
can
go
you
to the
do?
movies or restaurants.
Well, we can't do that now, but but imagine you could never do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, no good.
No good. All right, let's cut Silent Hill, and we'll keep Raccoon City.
Silent Hill look pretty nice right now, honestly.
Compared to some of these. I don't know.
What's up? What do we have left, Dan?
We got Yarnum. We got the USG Ishimura. We have Hell. We have Rapture. Dracula's Castle. The Oldest House. Arkham Asylum. Aperture Science Labs. Raccoon City. And Dark Bramble.
And we got to cut 5.
Yeah. That is a toughie.
I don't know. Don't know.
Dude, I keep like thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, the Oldest House, but then I start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You want to go in there.
Good.
Yeah, the hiss is all around you.
You don't want to go in there.
Now the Dark Bramble is habitable.
Well,
You
for
can live in
one
a
individual.
fish's mouth.
It is true.
Yeah.
That's funny.
There's also nothing. There's no sustenance.
It's true. You're just in there. You're
There's
just,
one
you're
tree,
just
one
there.
source of oxygen.
But you are like preserved there, it seems. Because how long was our boy out there with his harmonica?
Yeah, he was there for quite the while.
Quite a while.
I guess that's the tamest. We'll cut it.
I think so. Compared to some of these places, I think Dark Bramble can go.
All right. Nice addition, though, Dan.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like
Hey,
that.
Thanks, guys.
Now, how about the world of Portal here?
Yeah, I mean, compared to some of this stuff, the problem with it is if you are in Aperture Science Lab living like Chell, like you are a test subject.
Yeah,
That's
you
your
ain't
life.
having a good time.
Which is hard.
Like that's it. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I don't know. I don't know, because I mean, I'm looking at the rest. I mean, it's definitely not worse than Arkham Asylum.
See, this is the thing too. Like, so I'm thinking like Castlevania. So like the reason why I'm going with that, like saying like, well, maybe it's not as bad, is that that's because the games are kind of tamer than all these other ones. But like actually being there would be horrible. You know what I mean?
Think about this though. Think about there are parts of Dracula's castle you could knock out a room and just kind of chill. Like there's definitely some people just chilling in some of those rooms.
It's true, and you get there's meat in the wall.
A lot of ooh, that's a good point.
So I guess
Get that wall chicken,
you know what I mean?
and then you're living forever.
The castle provides you with it's better than Dark Bramble per se. The walls provide you with some sustenance, some protein.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you run into people, you can develop a nice Transylvanian accent.
Yeah,
that's true.
There's people. Like this castle's always changing, so it's like it's always unique. It's always different.
I could actually
library
like that argument. I think I could live there.
All right, Dracula's castle.
Dracula's castle, you gone.
I'm sure Dracula's a nice guy when you get to know him.
Dr. Acula.
Yeah.
MD.
How many do we have? We still got to cut 3? Jesus.
All right, so let's say what's definitely on. What are we definitely?
I think I don't know.
I think
Hell's a pretty goddamn shitty place to live.
Hell's rough. Hell is pretty rough.
That one's kind of up there.
I think Yarnum is pretty much hell incarnate.
Yeah, right.
Yarnum takes the cake.
Hell on Earth.
I can't see Arkham Asylum not being on there either.
I agree.
Because not like you're in an asylum, right? Number one.
They're
and then you're surrounded by these lunatic, evil people that are constantly causing mayhem in the asylum.
And your only saving grace is some guy who thinks he's a bat. So it's
It's true, right? Someone else should go out to Arkham Asylum.
There's just one more lunatic. The only thing is he gets to leave.
All right, let's think about so the USG Ishimura is a derelict spacecraft filled with humans that have become monsters called necromorphs. So not only are you on a derelict spaceship floating in the middle of space, but there are monsters on the spaceship that are constantly hunting you.
Yeah,
It's
ain't
terrifying.
great.
I'm just getting chills
great.
just thinking about it again.
That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad.
I saw a funny body type chart the other day that said mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph, necromorph. Which one are you?
I mean, you get to play basketball though. They have that cool.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, but you got like a fourth appendage coming out of your belly button.
I will say the plasma cutter is one of the best guns in video games.
Agreed. But yeah, no, that'd be terrible.
It's pretty bad.
Definitely bad.
I'll say I think that Raccoon City, Yarnum. I mean,
Yeah.
those got to be.
This is what makes me feel
How
like
is the oldest house not going to be on this list? The oldest
what
house
was
is so
exploring
bad.
Aperture before.
Yeah, an aperture.
This is what makes Aperture not seem. Aperture is like a psychological nightmare.
Yeah. The oldest house has both.
Yeah.
The oldest house is like the impossible angles of a your psychological horror.
Yeah.
But it also is just straight up terrifying.
It's so funny once you like delve into each one. It's like, oh, you know what? Raccoon City zombies, not so bad.
I'd take that over that any day.
I think
Just hide. Find Leon.
I'm with you, Shelb, on Aperture. I
As
think
crazy as it
compared to
sounds.
some of this stuff, I think I'd rather be in Aperture.
At least the walls are nice.
It's aesthetically pleasing.
And there's promises of cake.
Actually, the oldest house is beautiful.
So let's all I got. What do
We
you
gotta
think?
cut
Should we next
two.
Aperture?
Let's nix Aperture, and then we have 2 left
All right.
to cut. Rapture's starting to sound pretty good.
Guess you know what? I guess if I just like gave in, became like drug consumed
Became one of the What are those things called?
splicers.
Yeah, splicers.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what? I wouldn't think about it. You know what? I would shoot up that day. Honestly. You got that on tape. You can blackmail me anytime.
Now, I think honestly, compared to some of these, I think I'd take Rapture.
Get a soundbite of Dan saying that.
Can
I'll
you
shoot it this day.
just just put it out of context? I'll it against me.
All right. So is it?
What do we think? Rapture's cut?
It's tough to say, but yeah, I think so.
All right.
We haven't even talked
And
about
so-
Blighttown.
Blighttown, I got rid of it saying that Yarnum is like
A worse version.
will be like a stand-in, yeah.
All right.
Yarnum kind of encompasses that.
Right. All right. So we got 6 left here.
Oh, I wouldn't mind living in the hunter's dream.
Yes, I agree. Although Gurman is there.
Is Gurman bad though? Gurman's not really bad. He just am I no?
No, I know. I'm with you.
It's not really bad.
You know what?
He's just old.
The funny thing, you know what the funny thing about this is? All of these places are so horrifying that I'm thinking that hell is the least horrifying of these 6 places.
I think it's the lamest. I think it's the least interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
So talked about too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
We've
yeah.
covered it so much. It's the least interesting of them all.
That is so funny.
And I will say, I mean, hell, especially in the new Doom games, there's a lot of like the humans have built out bases on hell. So there's definitely like, you can wall yourself into a base, and there are some like rations and stuff.
I'm down with that.
Cut. You're down with cutting hell.
I'm down with cutting hell. Let's all go
So
to hell.
here, listen to this list. Tell me how it sounds. The worst 5 video game locales to live in: Yarnum, the USG Ishimura, the oldest house, Arkham Asylum, and Raccoon City.
Nightmares.
That's a pretty good bottom 5.
Yeah, I don't want a vacation package to any of those islands anytime.
So again, the top 5 that we have are Timberhearth, Delfino Island, Kakariko Village, Wellspring Glades, and New Horizons Island. Bottom 5, we got Yarnum, the USG Ishimura, the oldest house, Arkham Asylum, and Raccoon City. So that is our top 5, bottom 5 for this episode. And with that, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you, Dan, for being here.
And thanks for having me, bud.
Thank you, Shelby, for being here.
As always, thank you.
And thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned to the feed. I'm hoping, depending on how busy everyone is, that we might have, in between this episode and next, we might have that Final Fantasy VII spoiler cast for you guys. But could be later. We'll see. But anyway, keep your eyes peeled. And until next time, peace. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching and or listening. Just here to remind you that you can find us by searching for Circleback Podcast or Circleback Gaming on any of these podcast services: Anchor, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, or Stitcher. By God, I'm out of breath because of all these podcast services, but you can find us anywhere there. Also, you can find our video version on YouTube by searching Circleback Podcast or Circleback Gaming, and the rest of the videos we do. Thanks, guys.